Yeah, typically on, like, if you're remodeling a bathroom or you're remodeling, replacing countertops and cabinets, you typically, depending on the county you're in, you don't need a permit. Um, Disclaimer, whoever's listening, like, I would always check wherever you're building. Like, it never hurts to say, hey, do I need a permit for this? And then once you're, like, say in Hendricks County or whatever, you know the rules. But typically, if you're adding square footage, or something that's attaching to a house, or something that's adding something to your house, like you're adding a air conditioning unit, something like that. You will need a permit for an addition. You will need a permit for anything that attaches to your house. But like I said, if you're painting your house, you don't need a permit. You may need to check with your HOA. That's probably what I would check with first if you're in a neighborhood is what your HOA requirements. All of our quotes, we always have a disclaimer that we're not, like, that's up to the customer. We'll get the permits for you, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anytime you're adding square footage, attaching to a house, changing the government wants their taxes. So anytime you're adding square footage, they want tax money out of that. So that's why there's this thing called assessments, and the county assessor, they're checking to see, hey, did you add on to your house? They won't let you get ahead whether you want to or not. But yeah, that's a good question. Most of the things we do remodeling wise is just cosmetic. That kind of stuff you don't, but if you're adding on whole house renovations, yeah, you need a permit. Yeah, stuff like that.
If you're finishing an unfinished basement, because that's adding livable square footage, is that something that requires a permit?
No, usually no. Yeah, usually no. We do check. Like if you're in Marion County, a lot of times they want to. Matter of fact, if you just go in there asking, they're probably gonna want their $100 regardless, and be like, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to get a permit. Then with those permit fees come your inspections, and every point you got to get something inspected before you go to the next step. And it's a good thing because there's a lot of guys that if we didn't have those processes in place, we would have some really, really messed up properties. Because there's some people that'll throw drywall over anything and mud it, and it's like, whoa, you just covered up a 220 with open wire. Just a lot of things that it's a little spooky out there, to be honest. There's a lot of, shouldn't say a lot, but there's a fair amount out there that you got to kind of watch.
So then you kind of touched on it, but that inspection process, so how does that work? Is that something that the homeowner does, or is that something that you handle?
We take care of all that. We take care of permits, inspections, everything. It's a turnkey thing with us. And it's really best for you to do that because you can't really ask a homeowner unless you tell them to do it. It's really kind of the general contractor's responsibility. And you usually have to give 48 to 72 hours notice, so you kind of have to forecast your inspections. And then if you get in good with your inspectors in the municipalities, you can typically call them, say, hey, we're doing this, and you don't have to. But anymore, you have to get online, set an appointment, give them 3 days, and that can cost you some time too. That can really cost you some time.
So then you basically set up an appointment or a request that they come out, and then they come out, and what do they do from there? And then, like, what if they don't show up within?
So usually you fill out what it is you're inspecting. Like if it's a foundation inspection, you check that. If it's structural, if it's mechanical, if it's a final, you got to get permit of occupancy. We just got one of those today, ironically, down there in Bloomington. And all those things tell the story of the project. When you get your occupancy permit, that means this project is inspected, it's good, you can live in it, you can sell it. Those are the things that piece of paper will let you do. Otherwise, if you don't do that, they can red flag your house, they're your job, and you can't live in it. They could penalize you with money. There's all kinds of things they can do, but we always stay on the good side of that. We follow the rules. But yeah, we've never really had any real issues on that. So, yeah.
But in theory, so if the inspector came and they found something that wasn't correct, do they give you an opportunity
absolutely.
to correct it?
Yeah, then you got to get it re-inspected. A lot of it's little stuff like fire caulking. I'm not saying fire caulking's little. I'm saying you might have missed one hole, or they'll always find something. A lot of times the guys are there, you just take care of it right in front of them. And sometimes you got to send pictures or have it reinspected. But really, once you've done it for a while, you kind of know what they want, and you should want to know what they want, right? So we're typically, I mean, the one we just did today, that inspector was in that house for less than 5 minutes. I mean, because everything was done. I said, hey, walk it. If I miss something, I'll handle it right away. But I said, I am done with this house. And I didn't even follow him. I said, just go look. And he had one thing. He's like, is this guy going to put in a sump pump? I'm like, he's not. He's like, well, if he is, just have him put a GFI breaker or a GFI plug down there, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll let him know. And that was it. Everything else is, I mean, they know our quality. They know that we're not here to try to pull the wool over their eyes. We want to be here forever, building houses. So I'm not trying to like pull one over on an inspector, never would. But usually once you have a decent reputation and they know who you are and what you're about, typically it's not as daunting as what it could be. Because I've seen some that it's like the Grim Reaper's coming, the inspector's coming, and I see these guys. I'm like, if you do the job right, you shouldn't have to feel like that. Like if you really pour your heart and soul into what you do for a living, you should never have a dark day like that. If somebody's coming to go inspect your work, I'm actually excited. Like, come check it out, pick me apart. We're not perfect, but I'm going to learn something because I have a different mindset about it. I want to know how can I get better, because I know this inspector's not coming to just wreck my day, but he wants it right too. And he deals with a lot of half-ass contractors. So when you get inspectors that deal with a bunch of hack jobs and they come to your job, you want them to be like, oh, this is refreshing. They get it. They have all their I's dotted, their T's crossed for the most part, right? They're also willing to learn. They're willing to make corrections. They're willing to make it right. That's the side of the aisle I want to be on. So most of our inspectors are that way. They're really awesome people, and they're very, very, very knowledgeable. So when they come on the job, I hope and every time I learn something. It may not be something huge, but I learned something about something, and that's important to me.
That reminds me of when I worked for the home inspection company. I remember my boss that was a home inspector. One of the things that he always talked about with real estate agents is like when you're selling a home, make it as easy for the home inspector to get to everything, to find everything.
Yeah.
Like the more notes you can leave, like, hey, this is the key to the back shed, or this is the light switch that it turns on the basement light, or like here's where the attic access is, it's kind of hidden, here's how you can find it. Like the more that you can make that person have an easy experience, the better off you're going to be, because they're human beings. So they're going to, if they have get frustrated, then you're just setting yourself up for problems.
It shouldn't be an uncomfortable thing for the inspector to come by. I actually look forward to it. There's some jobs, I mean, when you're busy, and we typically are, you're just not in the mood because there's probably 1 out of 10 inspectors that are just kind of grumpy. But it's very, very rare. And they can make it rough on you. If you get sideways with them, they can make it rough on you. And we just don't do that. We're very matter of fact. We're very transparent. We're proactive in it. I'll call and ask questions. A big one is like if you're building a new house or an addition, is like that silt fence is a big one. Erosion control is a big one. We fought that on a job on the other side of town. I mean, every other day I was getting a call because it was raining, and the sand was. You get 2 inches of rain in an hour. That sand will start eroding into the street, and we're sweeping it up. They don't want. The long story short, they don't want all that shit in their storm sewers. And that makes sense to me, right? Well, once you know why, it's not because they're the big bad wolf. It's like, hey, dude, if all this sand goes down into that storm sewer, that's going to really suck to get out of there. So that's why these things are in place. A lot of people just think, well, they're just being jerks. Well, no, there's a reason for it. And once you understand that reason and you get on the same page with these guys, then it's not that big a deal. I like I said, I look forward to seeing all the inspectors here in town. They're great guys.